Welcome back to the Blindsiders. I am Ben, and here with Brian to talk about episode 10, I believe, of Survivor 44. It's we're down to the final 7 after this episode. We only have a few episodes of the season left. We're kind of really wrapping things up here, and we lose, in my opinion, one of the players that had some kind of win potential. In Franny this episode. I know. What are your immediate thoughts, I guess, on kind of how this episode went through?
Yeah. So first of all, hello everyone. Sorry we missed last week, but we are back this week to talk about Franny, who's like my kind of winner pick. When we talked, after the merge, I picked Franny and probably kiss of death right there.
Well, I mean, look, I gotta support anybody who's from where I live. So it's Franny is from where I'm from, so gotta support that, and
Yeah. Plus, nerd archetype. We respect that here on this show. So I was a huge Franny fan, a Stanny, if you will, and I was disappointed to see her go because, like you said, I thought she was really building toward something here, but it was not to be. The Tika 3, reigns supreme this season. And at this point, I think they probably have a pretty clear path to the end because I just can't see the other 4 players coming together to stop them. I don't know if you feel the same way.
Well, I would, but as we can get through in this episode, Jim and Carson do end up leaving Carolyn out of this vote. And there is a preview that, obviously don't 100% always trust the previews because generally they're misleading on purpose. But there is a potential of like Carolyn coming back, being very angry, going on some kind of revenge tour because she's not she's upset that like she spent all of this time bonding with Franny and potentially forming her own bond outside of the Tika Three Stooges alliance, and to have her other 2 allies kind of, be like, no, we're gonna get rid of Franny, and we're gonna do whether you're in or not. So I guess that's probably pretty much the only way that I think that Tika 3 can fail is if the like inner turmoil and drama amongst the 3 of them doesn't, or like kind of sabotages them.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, Carolyn did forgive Jam before. I don't know if this is too much. I don't know if this is, a bridge too far for her. But I do appreciate that she is the type of player who potentially will hold a grudge because I don't feel like a lot of players in this new era take things that personally, or it's just not something that's like the optimal thing to do. So a lot of players just don't do that, which it makes for boring TV. It's a lot more fun when people are like, actually I hate you so much for doing this. I'm going to vote you out, even if it's to the detriment of my own game.
Yeah, I mean, like even Jam this season has played personally to a degree in terms of like his Arya Stark style kill list of all the people who has voted for him throughout the season, which, like, I mean, you could argue it's not like there's personal elements to playing like that, and it's like, when you're cutting confessionals about it in a certain way, like it can be framed as petty or whatever, but it's also like generally probably strategically sound to target people who are willing to write your name down, right? Like while like flexibility is supposed to be, or like is potentially necessary in certain circumstances on Survivor, if you're in control and you have the pieces you need, like why not just take out the people who have demonstrated already that they're willing to let you go?
Yeah, I mean, I've said it on probably this podcast, certainly on other like LRG podcasts that I filled in. Like, once someone has written your name down, it's so easy for them to write it down again. They've gotten over the mental hurdle of it. They're fine with it, and yeah, you just got to get rid of them, and I love that. I love Jam Jam,
Yeah.
000 over here, taking
Well,
people out.
yeah, it's the same thing with Big Brother too. It's the same reason we get these perpetual pawn block star people, because once, like, if you are an HOH and you've nominated somebody, it makes it less dangerous to nominate the same person again, because that's one less person. Like, it's better to piss one person off slightly more than to piss a second person off entirely. And then that
Right.
also translates to other people, where if you're pissing off somebody who's already has a reason to be pissed off at a third person, then like you're kind of splitting focus, right? And that's why you get people being nominated over and over again on Big Brother, because like once that kind of seal has been broken on that person, it becomes significantly easier and significantly less socially damaging to do it again. And same thing on Survivor with votes.
Yeah, so good gameplay there. We'll see how this movie plays out, because it really was like a pretty brutal thing to do to your own ally here.
Mm-hmm.
Which I love. Great stuff. Really great stuff. And I mean, anyone who's listened to the other episode, I've not been super high on the season, but I love this stuff. This is great.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that we've been consistent in saying that the season has been delivering when it gets out of its own way.
Mm-hmm.
And otherwise it has been like very clunky and confusing and frustrating when it refuses to get out of its own way, because there are very good characters and players on the season.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that like the show has to just let them shine.
Yeah, and I do think there is something to, and this is going to sound bad, but it's in the context of Survivor, isolating people to where they only really have you as an option.
Yeah. No, look, I mean, this is 100%. That was like essentially vocalized, right? And it's been vocalized previously, even within the season, where like voting out your allies' plan Bs is like very strategically sound, right?
Yeah.
And when you build kind of an onion structure around yourself, or you build like a spiderweb structure around yourself, cutting off the links on that structure that don't connect back to you is just going to improve your position.
Yeah, and I think like the people listening to this are probably already like Survivor experts, like in theory, right? They're the top of the class nerds, like us, who really think about like the ideal situation of Survivor is everything goes through you, and like this is what both Jam Jam and Carson are like. We don't really feel anything towards Franny, so like the only thing that can be is bad for us. So also, I know this isn't like in a row or anything, but what we're talking about Franny, really weird that Danny played an idol on her and that like was like, all right, I'm abandoning you, I'm not looping you into a vote, and then I'm voting you off, right? That's weird, right?
It is weird, but I understand it, because the idol play on Franny was never really about Franny. It was about maintaining numbers. And so they basically needed Franny as a piece to, one, execute the play on Brandon that round, first of all, and second, to maintain numbers into the next round. After that point, he just didn't really need Franny anymore, and Franny became more of a liability, right? It was like the idol play was always more about like shoring up Danny's power rather than saving Franny. And I think that's like, I think that's kind of the way you have to think about it. And I think a lot of people will look at idol plays as like, I'm saving my ally, or I'm like influencing this one vote, as opposed to like, I'm maintaining the best social structure for my game in this moment. And I think it still makes perfect sense, right? Like,
he
accomplished
that's
what he wanted.
well explained. Yeah,
he accomplished what he wanted. He got Brandon out, and then he also shored up his numbers down the line to the point where Franny wasn't even needed anymore.
Yeah, so I mean, very interesting. I don't know what to think of Danny, really. He's perplexing me, because I thought he was going to be like, as we said, a cloney, someone who's like very out in front and very like, oh, I need to be in charge and calling all the votes and doing everything. And I don't feel like that. Yeah, I don't feel like it's him all the time, anyways.
Yeah.
He's in on the stuff, and he's like, but he's not necessarily controlling everything in any way.
Yeah, I think that hasn't been the case, but like in this past episode, we do see him have what, in my opinion, was a very poor social interaction with Heidi that almost kind of bit him on the vote. Like he ended up getting his way, and he ends up coming out like in a decent spot. But him going up to Heidi and basically being like, "Yeah, Franny's going home, and like, yo, you're my number one ally, so I'm giving you the courtesy of telling you that, but like." I could kind of do it without you if I really wanted to, which is like, it's just such a bad look. It's not great.
Yeah, that's how you get how to win friends and influence people on Survivor.
Yeah.
I always remember like the first episode of Survivor Karamoan when Philip went up to Eric and was like, "Hey, I don't need you at all. I don't care about you. Like you could live or die, whatever. But if you want to be part of this alliance, you can be. We already have like 7 people in it."
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, again, I guess if Danny feels that socially and strategically like kind of locked in, this might not matter, especially if he like plans on sitting next to Heidi at the end anyways, because like the worst case scenario for this, like obviously the worst case scenario was what almost happened, which is Heidi feeding that information out, it being misinterpreted by the likes of Franny and Carolyn, and the vote almost slipping. I don't know how likely that was or how much of that was edited, but that could have been very bad. But in normal circumstance, the worst case scenario for this is like you're either losing Heidi as an ally or a jury vote. But if Heidi's options are basically completely neutered and you plan on sitting next to her at the end anyways, this probably has like next to no impact. But it's still bad luck, and it's still probably like indicative that Danny has social game issues that might go deeper.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, anything else off the top? I guess very interesting, or very like unfortunate that Franny, the first time she's not safe, gets voted off, and obviously like she would have gotten voted off before, but she got idled.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I guess interesting to say the least that this is where her game ends.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what are your thoughts? I feel like we've probably covered this before in past seasons, but like where do you stand on winning individual reward challenges? Especially like at this phase of the game. Like,
I wouldn't do it personally.
When kind of things are more shored up, but
yeah, I wouldn't do it personally.
Yeah.
Can only lead to disaster, honestly.
Yeah.
I can't even think of like, because like the people who go on the reward are not indebted to you at all, and then people are just mad that you didn't pick them. So there's just no upside to winning reward.
Yeah. I guess Carolyn was to a degree. I think that's kind of
sure.
Let's you can't count on everyone behaving the way that Carolyn does or thinking the way she does. But yeah, like this whole full tilt boogie nonsense that Jeff was doing at Tribal Council, like I don't know if Jeff like hasn't seen the last 3 seasons of Survivor, but like it's pretty clear in this new era that like playing full tilt boogie does not win you Survivor anymore, right? Like,
and honestly, how many times did it win you Survivor?
Very rare, like to the point where like it's notable, right? Like you know maybe like half a dozen times has there been like a full tilt boogie winner, like a Tom Westman-esque winner who just kind of like slaps his dick in the table day one and rides it out for 39 days. Like it's very fucking rare that like somebody is able to accomplish that, because like you basically have to play perfectly, And we even saw this past season, or like last season of 43, right? Like Jesse essentially tried to do that, and he still couldn't pull it off. And like at a certain point, like you kind of have to be like, no, it's not correct to do that, and it's almost an anomaly when it ends up working out. And it's way better to just play safe until there's a turning point in the game that you can grasp onto.
Especially in this new era.
Yeah.
Like this is by far the worst era to play full tilt Survivor.
Yeah.
Like it's not even close. Like you said, Tom did it in season 10, 2005. You know, like this is a very different time we're in for Survivor. Everyone is smart to the game.
Yeah, there's not going to be people who are like, you know, essentially handing you $1 million because they like you.
Right.
You're like, okay, I'm going to give up my game because you're so awesome, you know.
I'm going to jump off this
Yeah.
fucking buoy after 14 hours or whatever.
Yeah.
So we can be friends.
Yeah, it's not happening in season 44, and you can't bank on it happening. So yeah, it was perplexing to me, especially with Franny going out here, that Jeff is like, yeah, you have to play full tilt boogie, Franny. That's what you got to do. You got to win all these challenges that are just putting a target on your back for no reason. And then it felt like the message that the show was trying to tell us was different than the message the show ended up showing us, and it was very jarring.
Even like you'd say, like I would say Tony in Kagayan was full tilt.
Yeah.
But he was not in Winners at War till the merge. He was trying his best to like hide as much as he could.
This is the extortion episode in the Sophie boo was like that was like the turning point for him, right? Like up until final like 9 at earliest, Tony was basically playing an under the radar game.
It was impressive too, like considering his reputation. Like I'm trying to think the last like full tilt winner is like Mike, maybe.
I mean, even Mike was not like he was not it would be even hard for me to consider him because he wasn't even in control before he started getting targeted. Like he was just kind of like he was part of the power structure, and then he threw, and then he got bailed out.
Threw pretty hard,
Yeah, and then he got bailed out by winning immunities and having an idol.
Yeah. Did he throw at the auction, or was he going full tilt?
That's exactly. I mean, that's kind of that's the first or the most recent instance that you can think of is somebody who like generally is considered to have thrown for no reason, and like that's the full tilt boogie we're supposed to be encouraging people to do is literally just throwing away their game for no rational reason.
Yeah. Why don't you just ruin your game and then go on an unprecedented challenge run? It's easy.
I mean, I think Tony and Kagayan is probably the more apt, most recent one, and then like I guess Kim, but like even Kim, a lot of people, I think because of how like dominant her like the second half of her game was socially and strategically, I think a lot of people kind of oversell the amount of like clear agency she had in that first half of the game. But like pre-swapped into the first part of the swap of One World, Kim was not like super out front. Like I would say even before that, you have to like look at Boston Robin and Redemption Island as like an example.
And like Colton was like way like casting a way like a huge shadow over Kim in the pre-merge section of the game, to where she like really could kind of blend into the background and kind of put all the pieces in place for her end game run.
Yeah, so I mean, look, it's not common. No matter what Jeff is trying to say or like manufacture an episode title about, it's almost never correct to play Survivor full tilt boogie. If all you care about is winning. I think if you care about being a TV character and you care about being invited back for a second appearance, then the producers are going to want you to play like that because it creates good television.
Right.
Because most of the time you're going to crash and burn and it'll be funny. But yeah,
I'm trying to I just remember I was like full tilt. Like I've heard this before. I'm pretty sure it's Colby on Heroes versus Villains saying that he only knows one speed in his full tilt,
Mhm.
and then famously just flopping through
Yeah.
the entirety of Heroes versus Villains and almost winning, but like really through no like he
It was
didn't
backing
put
into
him
the
he didn't put himself in the
yeah.
position to win the game. He just almost won it.
Yeah. Yeah, 2 challenges away potentially from winning that season.
Yep.
Um,
That would have been such a weird legacy for him.
yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how you tell that story.
Yeah, from like literally the most alpha dominant like
Yeah,
player ever to like just complete under the radar, winner.
it would probably be similar to like a Mike Holloway's story where you kind of have to give him like a hero's journey. You probably have to tone down a lot of other story elements throughout that season.
You
And
probably don't get it's like Superman sucks. He's like
yeah,
Superman in
that
a
was
fat
one
suit.
of the things I was thinking of. Yeah, Superman in the fat suit. Yeah, and you probably end up giving the villains way less credit than they deserve for just like completely fleecing the heroes.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that season would be way messier.
Yeah, it really would.
People complain about the storyline of Sandra winning,
Mhm.
but like a storyline of Colby winning would be a fucking nightmare.
Oh man. So all this is to say that Jeff still continues to show that he has no idea what he's talking about.
I think Jeff is very understanding of what will create his personal vision of the Survivor TV show.
Mhm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Like he wants these players to win that way. He doesn't realize that it's pretty much impossible to win that way.
I think in his mind, he's like, if I can convince every player to play like that, then by default the winner has to have played like that.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
That is definitely what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah. As opposed to like, maybe stop introducing game elements that encourage players to play super safe, like hidden advantages that they have no clue what they're supposed to do, and like not knowing if your idol is real or not, etc.
Yeah, do we want to talk about that? How Jamie got bailed so hard?
Yeah. Full transitional there. You got me. Man, poor Jamie.
No, not poor Jamie. This is great.
No,
she didn't have to look like a fool.
Well, she still looked like a fool. Like, yeah. I mean, she's, yeah. It still does not look great. Like obviously playing the idol with a smile on her face, and then Jeff being like, "Yeah, this is fake," and then she goes home. That would be worse. But like, this is still not great. Like this, it feels like every single episode is like an exercise in the producers trying to make Jamie look as stupid as possible.
Yeah, it really is bad.
Yeah,
because like she's like right now looking like the worst result of like a self-actualized person. Like person who's like has a lot of like positive affirmations about themselves. Like I'm smart, I'm strong, like I'm good at Survivor, and it's just like no, I mean you're just not. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I just don't know what they're like. I have to imagine there's a reason that they're like, because it feels like every scene with her is just Dota music, right? Like she'll just say something and then immediately be proven wrong.
Yep.
And like they'll intersperse her confessional of her saying something with like direct confirmation that the thing she's currently saying is completely not correct.
It's so brutal. It's one of the more brutal instances of this that I've seen.
Every episode, not even just like once or twice, like literally every episode they do it. And it's like, okay, I mean, I'm starting to feel like she's like a zero vote finalist. Like, I don't know if there's
I was about to ask, do you think it's because she gets to the end and she's like, I played this great game, and the jury's like, you didn't. You sucked. And then she has like her ego completely shattered, or what?
I mean, other than because it's funny, I don't really see another reason to why they're like going so far out of their way to make her look so bad. And like,
what did Jamie do to them?
yeah, like obviously, like in some cases, it is Jamie being bad at Survivor, and it is her being legitimately wrong. But like in this situation, like she is like telling them the truth. The way she's telling them the truth is not great. The rationale for telling them the truth in that way is not great. But like everybody else is wrong in thinking that she's lying. She's telling the truth. So like it's actually everybody else that's wrong, but it's still edited in a way that we're supposed to laugh at Jamie and be like, oh, Jamie, you're so stupid thinking everyone believes your lie. And it's like, oh, but it's actually the truth. Like we're supposed to be laughing at Jamie for thinking she can lie to them and get away with it. But we know that she's telling the truth.
Right.
It's like, what do we, I don't know.
Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. I don't know what she did. Like I think you might be right. She might just not have any votes in the end.
Yeah, I'm starting to lean towards like Carson gets cut at 4, I guess loses fire or something. It's the one thing he didn't practice. He practiced every single puzzle the show has ever made, but he didn't practice how to make fire. Maybe he loses to like Carolyn or Jam Jam at fire, and then like it's Carolyn and Jam Jam as like one of them wins, and then Jamie is there.
Jamie's there. Yeah, Jamie in the Romeo spot, she wins final immunity, but it doesn't matter at all.
Yep.
Because everyone was gonna bring them to the final 3 anyways.
Yeah, and then maybe like she pulls Carolyn and then Jam Jam beats Carson to fire or something like that. I don't know. Right? Like I'm trying to like picture an endgame scenario that makes sense as to like how the season plays out. Because right now, I don't even know what's going to happen next week. And I don't know if like it's weird because last week the Kane vote to me was like very straightforward, very obvious. This week, like the story of why Franny got voted out made sense to me, but like I don't know who is voting together at this point. Like I thought I understood, and now because we have this voting block situation.
Well, we're in the post alliance.
Yeah, we're in. Whatever metaphor is being pressed at the current tribal councils is whatever voting blocks,
I just want to say at this point, I am fully zoned out during tribal council.
Oh yeah, I zone out during the challenges because they don't matter until Carson wins the puzzle, and I'm zoned out during the tribal council because it's just a litany of forced metaphors that don't make sense, and it's the same forced metaphors every time. And people be like, oh no, they say different metaphors. No, they don't. It's the same metaphor every single time. It's like, you can't know what's going to happen with the vote until it happens. Take 5,000 with ice cream this time instead of fire trucks. And it's like, okay,
yeah,
there's like so many different ways you can say. You'll find out what happens when it happens.
Yeah, give me just any random thing like object or anything. I'll give you my best version of this, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, let's do it within the Olympics.
So, Jeff, when you get onto Survivor, it's a lot like making the Olympics. You train your whole life to get to this point. You might 3D print puzzles. You pay former survivors to train you to get cast. But once you get into the Olympics, you realize that everybody else has trained as hard as you. So really, you don't know what's going to happen until you get out there and they fire the starting gun. And that's what's happening tonight. You're going to fire that gun and tell us to vote, and we're going to find out who's going to get gold. Hopefully it's me, but we'll see.
There you go. You want to do it for me, and we can do a little improv game.
Okay. But how is Survivor like an office Christmas party?
All right, Jeff. Survivor is just like a Christmas party at the office, where there's people who show up right as it starts, and they get there, and they're mingling, they're making friends, they're making talk, they're having drinks, they're listening to the music, and they're right on time. And then there's other people who arrive a little bit late, and they're late to the party, which means, they don't know what's going on in the conversations. They have to catch back up. And then sometimes when you're at the office party and things get a little crazy, it's just best to stand back in the corner and watch it all happen. And that's what I'm going to try and do tonight is sit back and watch the people on the dance floor go crazy, while I'm sipping on my mojito. and hopefully by the end of the night, we all get home safe. But on Survivor, one of us is not getting home safe.
Perfect. So I think, Jeff, you should cast us. We will anything. We'll come up with anything for you.
Yeah, I'll try not to break when I say it on the actual television show.
Yeah, it has to be deadly serious.
Every tribal council is that.
Yep. Yeah, just however many people are there, just 8 different versions of the same exact conversation over and over. And then Jeff is like, wow,
so
do you think we can vote? Yeah. Oh my God.
I really understand Survivor now.
Yeah, I
didn't understand it before, but I understand it now.
Oh man, I'm definitely gonna make this part a clip to promote the show.
Yeah,
maybe tweet it at Jeff, see if he likes it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hopefully he'll think we're being
serious.
And not mocking him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh man, but yeah, it's real. It's brutal, dude. It's so brutal, and like, there's just no point to it. I don't know. I've been watching Survivor All Stars. I'm pretty much always have like a season of reality television from back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of as background noise almost, because I've seen so many times. It's just like so insane how much more interesting Survivor is, like in that era. Like people are really conflicted about who to vote for. Like Rupert's over here crying because he has to he's not even voting off Rudy. Rudy's getting voted off. Rupert's just there and he's crying. Like, it's crazy. I love that. And we don't really get that kind of stuff much anymore, but Carolyn delivers it a little bit.
Yeah, well, I think
Jam does too.
I think the reason is kind of twofold. Like, one is like the players are smart enough to know that saying stupid bullshit metaphors is like good because you're basically saying nothing while like still giving Jeff clips to use on the show. And 2, Jeff / production has moved away from yelling at the castaways to actually give them something useful to work with, and instead settled on the fact that like these bullshit metaphor like diatribes are good TV and are what we want as viewers, when no, they're not. I would rather them sit there for 12 hours and force them to actually give us useful tidbits rather than the 17th iteration of like, are you in the passenger seat, the driver's seat, or are you like flying the plane overhead, or are you digging a tunnel underneath the road? Like,
right.
Just literally, like, they did this for years, and I guess they just stopped doing it. Just make the players say things that are meaningful, and if they won't, then just sit there all night. I don't care.
Yeah, the 26 days is killing tribal councils as well.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we don't have time. Yeah, we gotta stay on schedule. We gotta let them get away with saying nothing for 4 hours.
Like, I would say like this definitely started. Like, Cochrane's one of the first that I can kind of remember, kind of meta, looking at Survivor in a meta way and bringing it up. But then, and I'm gonna, I don't know how involved this guy is with the community anymore, but Ryan from Heroes, Healers, Hustler was like an inflection point of like, not only are these bad metaphors that don't make sense, but it's just like so obvious what you're doing. And then, Edge of Extinction's where it really like, to me, I was like, this is just all such bullshit with the passengers and flying the plane. And ever since then, it's just been pretty bad.
Yeah, no, Edge of Extinction for me was the point of no return, where it's like, okay, every tribal council is either like a diatribes about nothing, or live tribal where we can't understand what's going on, and both are.
Yeah, the worst.
Like, I don't want either.
No,
you should be like if you want to change something, say it out in the open so we can hear it, and put your cards on the table, and like if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Or like say what you want about Kara Moen, which is a dog shit season on the whole, or like
right.
But Malcolm and the three Migos in that season, they made their play out in the open. You know what I mean? Like
they invited everyone to join them. It was great.
So that's way more entertaining, right? Like even within the context of that season as a whole, like kind of being bad, that Tribal Council was really good because that was interesting. It was unique, and we could understand what was happening, and it meant something.
No, I agree. I don't think Jeff will ever require it, but like for all of you people who make LRGs out there, make these people stay in their goddamn seats and say it out loud. Make that a rule, because this is way more.
It was a rule, and then JT broke the rule in Game Changers, and they were like, "Oh wow, he's such a game changer for breaking the rule and them allowing him to do it for the first time." And he's like, "Okay, I mean, I guess, and anybody can be a game changer if you just like break rules willy-nilly and like wait until the production decides that it's good TV to let you do it."
Ugh, fucking JT.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, and at the very least in Game Changers it made sense because that whole round and that whole twist was
it was a bullshit
that happened
twist,
to begin with. So like I can at least it's more defensible in that situation. Whereas
when you literally didn't have all day to talk to these people.
Yes. Literally the only circumstance where it makes sense is when the show intentionally doesn't allow you to talk to the other players and strategize. And it's like, okay.
And you're one person and your whole alliance and tribe is on the other team. That I can forgive JT a bit.
Yeah. It's literally the only time it makes sense, and the only time it's like somewhat forgivable. Every other time that's been done has just been like, okay, well, you should have, like, you had fucking all day. Why do you have to do this now? You're literally just doing this now to like make it be a moment like manufactured for no reason. Like
it's so infuriating.
Yeah.
Oh man. But I mean, that's our spiel about Tribal Council and why it sucks now. I don't have much else to say about this episode. Do you?
No, I'm curious, I guess. Yeah, I'm kind of just curious where this goes, right? Because like you say that like the 4 won't team against the 3, the Tika 3, but like they kind of did this episode against Franny, or like they came together for a common goal for Franny.
Yeah.
Although I believe Heidi did actually vote for was the one vote for Danny.
Oh boy.
So that might be interesting. He might pawn that off on. I don't know. I don't know who she would pawn that off on. Lauren, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's probably the other thing to look forward to is like if that ends up mattering. But yeah, I do think that like the Tika 3 are just playing really, really well outside of not internally communicating well. Yeah, I don't know. You have a revised winner pick, I guess.
Oh God!
You can hear somebody else.
I'm all in with you on Carolyn. Like if Carolyn doesn't win, I'll be sad.
I agree. I think that like it's funny because I think the show, like say Carson is the winner, right? I think the show is like trying its best to sell Carson as a winner in ways that it hasn't for like the past couple winners, at least from like the top to the end. So it would be really funny to me if Carson is the winner and like everybody in the audience is pissed off because they were all rooting for Carolyn or
Yeah, that'd be great.
Even though like on paper it makes sense. Like a Carson win makes sense, and like Carson would be like, in my opinion, a pretty good winner.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, based on like how he's played the game. But
You're
from
only
like
gonna give so much like shit. It was like Carson only won because he 3D printed everything. And it's like, okay, well, that's not really Carson's fault that the show doesn't change their puzzles.
I have seen I did see today on the social medias like a Kevin Martin comparison where it's like,
yeah, I mean it's fair.
Yeah.
But that's not wrong that Kevin did that either.
Yeah.
So what do you want from them?
Yeah. If you're going to reuse the same comps and challenges over and over again, you know, you kind of have to expect that people are going to prepare for them. And especially when you like are lionizing the contestants on the show, like basically like they're basically treating Carson as like a genius for like practicing all these puzzles. And it's like, I mean, I mean, you shouldn't have to buy every puzzle a Survivor has ever made on Etsy to, you know.
Right.
Like
it shouldn't be a prereq.
So.
It's just like, it's funny. It's almost just like, how dare this wide receiver practice catching a football before he, you know, went onto the pro team. So yeah, I mean,
but like, I don't know.
Or would combine drills be better? Like, okay, they're the same drills every year. Just practice them, and then you'll get a good combine score before you get drafted.
Yeah. I guess that's probably a better comparison point. But like, where you're kind of like preparing, you're not really preparing for the experience. You're preparing for like the micros of the game because the producers are too lazy to change the micros of the game, and then when you know their laziness is manipulated, they're like, oh wow, you're so good for manipulating our laziness. And it's like, no, just don't be lazy.
Yeah. Also, talking about like I said, watching Survivor All Stars again, really interesting to see challenges that don't end in puzzles. Like it's bring that back, maybe could be cool, could be a fun twist.
Yeah, everything is either a an endurance challenge or it's a obstacle course ending with a puzzle for sure.
Yeah.
I guess the reward challenge this episode didn't have a puzzle. It was an obstacle course.
Fine. That was fun.
It was good.
It's the same exact one they did last year this round, right?
Yes.
That Noelle one.
Yes.
Or at least very similar. Maybe she had a sandbag to throw where they had the balls to get on something, but
yeah, I mean the balls like kind of laying the balls up onto the ledge thing. They've done that before a bunch of times.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think like from like a we've talking about LRGs, right? It makes sense for LRGs to reuse puzzles.
Oh yes, yeah.
Low budget, etc., etc. But when you're like a network TV show with like at least a moderate budget, right? Like making new puzzles at the very least every 2 seasons, like, because obviously you can't prepare for like if like you use the same puzzle in 43 and 44, nobody can prepare for that because they've done back to back. Like at the very least, every year making new puzzles or new-ish puzzles would be good. At least it's the right direction.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
What can you say at this point? Like, they're not going to do it, so it's just like, well, it'd be swell if they did. But
and think about All Stars 2 and then Here's What's Villain. Like a lot of All Star seasons, they do like heavily reuse puzzles from
that's like the theme, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think that makes sense, right, to a degree, and also like you can tie that in of like, oh, this player played in this puzzle or this challenge on their season, and this is how it went.
Right, and that's fun. Did they do that in Cambodia too?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. That's like, and like especially when Kelly Wigglesworth was there in Second Chance, and they're like, this is the Quest for Fire, the very first challenge we ever did, and Kelly played in it. Like, that's cool.
Yeah, but doing it for every single season just because you're like lazy and don't want to build new challenge sets or new puzzles is like, I don't know.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. So I feel like this was like 20 minutes of talking about the episode and 25 minutes of ranting about random bullshit. So we're just on
Yeah,
par.
well, I think that's the Blindsiders experience.
Yeah, that's
That's
like,
what
yeah.
people are signing up for.
We
never played Survivor. We don't have the know-it-alls credentials. You know, we don't Tyson. We're not Tyson. You know, he won Survivor. We're just two guys who really enjoy Survivor and talk about it and make fun of it a lot. In fairness, but you know, I feel like it's our little niche where we appeal to the curmudgeons in the fan base.
No, look, I mean, I try to be objective and fair, right? And like, looking at BB Can as an example, right? I will sing the praises of BB Can seasons 1 through 10, and especially like 10 as well, in particular. But
it's too bad that show had to end.
I was very vocal in negative capacity in the existence of BB Can post BB Can 10.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll praise the media when it's good and when it's like delivering, and I will criticize it when it's bad and it is not.
Yeah, BB Can really fucked up because you were like so high coming off of BB Can 10, and then we didn't even cover BB Can 11 at all, even though we were planning to. Once there were like no live feeds,
I see like tweets and like stuff on Reddit when I scroll. So like I loosely know the names of the house guests that I think are still in, but that's like as far as I know. I haven't watched the season at all.
Yeah. Hey, shout out to the Writers Guild. Hopefully they get everything they're asking for. We will probably be covering more reality TV because I looked it up. The last writers' strike lasted 100 days.
Yep.
And I mean, if that happens again, which it very well could, who knows? There's going to be a stretch of time where they're probably going to put some reality shows on there.
Yeah, I think it's not impossible. We get like a BBOTT2 or a CBB US 4, which if we do get a CBB US 4, hopefully it's it reverses, because in my opinion I think that like 1 was better than 2, although 2 had a decent amount of good stuff in it, which was way better than 3, which was a horrendous slog that I wish I had never watched. So hopefully 4 would be better if that comes up, and if it doesn't, and BBOTT2 happens, look, I think BBOTT was fun.
It's a really good season. Pretty crazy. What's the guy who didn't get voted in his name?
Jose.
Yeah, we should bring him back and not vote him in again, but bring him out to the stage again.
Well, he did a little. I think he went on the challenge for a bit. He did a lot of stuff after Big Brother, so he didn't like wither into nothingness. Yeah,
and honestly, if you ask Jason, I'm sure he wishes he did not get voted into the BBOTT house. It only caused problems for him.
Yeah, I
mean, himself. He did it to himself, things he said and did, but I don't know.
Yeah. You die a hero, live long enough to become a villain situation, which I definitely think that like Jose would have equally, if not worse, done the same sort of vibe. But, I mean, Jose seemed very bad at Big Brother. And from what I'd heard from the challenge, also seemed very bad at that. So maybe not. Maybe he just would have. Maybe the season would have been more interesting even with Jose there, because he would have been voted out quickly, and there wouldn't have been like this Jason's kind of cult, like late night jamboree crew. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see, and we'll let you know what comes back from the graveyard of reality. the discard pile.
I mean, look, I would love at the very least if Netflix does a Mole season 2 to cover that. Like that would be high my list. I very much enjoyed watching the season 1. So
you're gonna come up with a cool name for our Mole podcast.
Yeah.
We'll brainstorm.
We'll go through that. We'll come up with some ideas.
Cool. And we'll have a green overlay and everything. It'll be good. It'll be really good. Yep. Yeah. All right. Anything you want to promote before we get out of here?
No. I tweeted once in the last couple of weeks. Yeah, I thought it was a decent tweet, and it got no engagement. So I'm done with that. Yeah.
I didn't see it because fucking. I don't know. I feel like Twitter, it has a For You page now, and it has a following page, and it is split.
I hate
my follow the people I follow onto either one or the other.
They realized that nobody wanted the For You page, and so they all disabled it. And they're like, okay, fuck, we're gonna force this on you now.
Yeah, because there are definitely people who I follow who I'd never see anymore.
All right, here's my tweet. It's 3 days ago. I said, I fuck with Pedro Pascal as a person / actor, but he looks like a Hogwarts student that took Poly potion of the professor, and that fit.
No, this is his Met Gala look.
Yeah,
it was not a great look.
No.
There we go. Get a like there. Everyone go like it if you're this far into the podcast. We'll know. Who did? That's at Ben Sharon on Twitter. And I am the Fake Bean Bar. It's BMARR there. We also host our sports channel, Wicked Good Sports. Then we have the main channel, which is Wicked Good Everything. Bunch of podcasts on this channel. Check them out. And other than that, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.